VAT. So where VAT would apply, it would be, as Una mentioned, if a creative business is registered for VAT and they charge VAT, that would be additional. You couldn't use the voucher to cover the VAT cost. Do you want to add to that, Una?
No, that would be the main thing.
Eamon Ansborough, Boyle. What happens if you can't find in the matchmaking a creative body that's within the Northwest region? Well, does that cause a problem if you're if you're trying to find something and you can't find the expertise in the matchmaking area? What actually happens after that?
Well, I suppose just to reassure you first on that front, the Western Development Commission have over the past number of years conducted a huge amount of research which informed the economic argument for the bid. And that research has identified that the Western region has a disproportionate index of creative talent here. So, for example, the European average would be approximately 3%. In areas of the Northwest region, it exceeds 4%. So across all of the sectors which are identified in the FAQs that Aoife mentioned, so if you're kind of unsure what constitutes a creative industry business, just look at the drop-down menu and you'll see them listed. All of those listed in the drop-down menu there would have a very significant representation within the region. So we would have no doubt that there will be a creative skill set available to match the challenge.
And maybe to also add to that, that the programme will expand into other territories next year, I think Una had hit on. So we will be working with partners in Scotland and Northern Ireland into next year. So there will be an opportunity that, let's say you had a very specific creative need that we weren't able to fulfil in terms of matchmaking in the Northwest, that we would work with you then next year to match that in Northern Ireland or Scotland.
Mark Walton from Voya. Is there any funding from any other agencies which would preclude you from access to this scheme?
To my knowledge, no. The voucher is available to any business that wishes to apply for it. Because it's a pilot, it's quite open. And it's non-prescriptive in that regard. As Una mentioned in her presentation, really it's useful for us to know if you're benefiting from any other public funding. But in terms of its impact on whether you would receive a voucher or not, there's none.
And obviously it's open on our side, but it would depend on if you're receiving funding from another body and that body has restrictions placed on you as to how else you can use that funding. That's something we can't control, but within our fund, yeah, it doesn't preclude you at all.
Hello, my name's Sharon Eastwood from Woodrow Sustainable Solutions. Could the industry applicant, could it be a joint application? So for example, two bodies who see a need for creative input, could they put an application together, or does it have to be one industry?
I mean, a key thing, I'm going to answer this question in a slightly roundabout way, Sharon. One of the key, I suppose, goals of the programme is to encourage entrepreneurialism and clustering. So where I would see, it wouldn't preclude it, but where I would see the difficulty is just, contractually, how would you work that? It's not precluded, but there may be contractual challenges that you would have to think about. But I mean, we can work with you on those. If you have an idea, by all means, talk to us about it. But certainly, on the creative side, it's very much designed to encourage clustering. So, for example, in the Northwest, there's a music cluster that Rory's a member of. There's also a film and media cluster called Studio Northwest. They have approximately 15, 20 filmmakers, technicians, etc. That cluster could put forward itself as a creative supplier. So the business would have a whole range of expertise within the cluster available to it. So the idea of clustering is very core to it, but it's kind of new territory. We're on a learning curve. So if you have ideas in that regard, we'll work with you on them and see what we can do.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so I think the questions and answers come to a natural conclusion, but we do have Roisin here from Intertrade Ireland. I think you were going to say a few words. And
Yeah, I was just going to leave that until before the
Okay,
coffee.
pardon me.
So, but we'll, as Deirdre mentioned, Roisin is here. We're going to go into a next session now, but we will be breaking for a networking coffee session after that. And Roisin, maybe if Roisin can stand up so people can see her. So Roisin is here from Intertrade Ireland, and they have an Elevate programme that she'd be happy to tell you about, which is a sales development programme, and that supports SMEs through North-South innovation. And a big core part of what we're hoping to do with the Creative State Northwest is to bring opportunities like that to your knowledge. So we do see ourselves as a filter to be able to bring you information for the SME sector, but also for the creative sector, and help you with other opportunities that might come up through events or grants. So the website will be a news source, and we will be developing that. So we won't only be telling you about the things that we offer, we'll be telling you about other opportunities we hope that you can avail of. So Roisin is the first of those. So she'll chat to you at the coffee. So I think that's probably a good break. If you just bear with us for a minute, we're just going to swap over our speakers, and you're going to hear from Caroline, who's going to talk through her own experience of growth in terms of working with a creative, and Aisling going to give you a few little quick examples of similar programs in the UK. And after that session, we will break for coffee, and do feel free to come to us with any questions during that coffee session.